and today I'm talking about this machine. It's the legendary Korg MS-20. In fact, this particular box was built back in the 1970s, and when I bought it I still had hair. That shows how old it is, doesn't it? Now this thing here, Korg have started making new ones. They're slightly smaller, but essentially they've got the same electronics. They've also got a new MIDI socket, but why would you want a MIDI socket when you've got all this to play with, eh? Don't know. Now, if you've seen one in a magazine or on the internet or, I don't know, in a shop or something, you might think to yourself, is it fun? Well, it is fun. I'll just tell you that right now. But do I want one? What does it do? How do I play with it? So I'm going to try and show you. But to understand it, you'll need to know a little bit about vintage analog synthesizers. And some time ago, I did a video all about that, and it was starring this little machine here. Whoa, this is the Moog Prodigy. It's a super box, but it's very basic. It's just got the sort of one or two essential things that you need to make some decent sounds. And in my video, I explained how filters, oscillators, envelope shapers, and voltage control all work, okay? So if you're up with that, we're going to have a look at this machine. But first of all, let's look at the two boxes and compare them and see what they've got in common. Starting on the left-hand side, each machine's got two oscillators, and it's also got the associated controls for tuning and for glide. Then after that, each machine's got a little mixer. They've both got a low-pass filter, and they've both got two envelope shapers each, and they've both got a modulation low-frequency oscillator for doing vibrato and trills and stuff like that. There's also something else they've both got. It looks the same, but it isn't. Have a look at the wheels on the Moog. This one's pitch bend. And this one adds modulation. So they do just what you might expect. The Korg's got a wheel, looks exactly the same, but look. It doesn't actually do anything. If you push a little button, nothing. By the way, I'll give you a little warning. If you see one of these machines in the shop, don't start playing with the wheel and then go up to the person behind the counter and say, "Oh, I think it's broken. Can I get a discount?" Because you ain't going to get one. The chances are they'll probably kick you out. I know. The thing is, the wheel doesn't know what you want it to do until you tell it, okay? And to tell it, what you do is you start plugging wires into the patchboard. We're going to start off with a really simple one. That little sign there, that means it's the wheel. That's the voltage coming from the wheel. So I'm going to put a wire in there. Then that is the frequency control for the two voltage controlled oscillators. So I'll put the wire into there, right? Let's just see if it's going to behave itself. Hey, we've got a working pitch wheel. The trouble is, though, it's a little bit boring. Nearly any keyboard can do that. This machine can do a lot better. Stand by for some quick magic wire changing. Listen to this now. Hear those little steps? Let's see what's going on. Now, the wire from the wheel isn't going directly into the oscillator control. It's going into this. Can you see it's a sample and hold circuit? So that goes in there. The output from the sample and hold is going into the oscillator control. And the sample and hold, the clock is being driven by the modulation generator. So every time it pulses, it actually takes a snapshot of the wheel voltage and feeds it through. And that's why you get the step sound. I'll make it slower if I want. The truth is, with the right imagination, this wheel can become a weapon. I mean, yeah, can you change the filters? That's kind of nice, but we can do better. Get a slice of this. Have a look. What I've done is I've taken the wheel output, which is there, and I've used this thing. Whoa, it's a little bit naughty. You have to be a wee bit careful, but it's a jack splitter. So in fact, this acts as what's called a mult. So I can take that voltage and put it into two things at once. And so the voltage, first of all, comes down this one. When it goes into there, it can control any of these things that you like. There's controls down to the left, controls down to the left, so you can choose. I've actually got this wire, and it controls the filters. So here we are. That's what that's doing. That's the control coming through there. There's the two filters. But then the other wire goes into here. VCO2 control voltage in. Now at the moment you can only hear VCO1. The VCO2, if I turn it up, will do this. I'm using another of the toys that you're going to find on this rather fabulous synthesizer. It's over here, it's a ring modulator. In fact, if I just listen to VCO2 by itself and move the wheel, that's the ring modulator sound. If I click that there, remember the wheel's just working VCO2, so that's just the pure pitch. But in ring modulator mode, it's actually the combination of these two modulated together, and that's how you get this really tasty, this really tasty noise. Boy, do I love that. So when you're mixing at VCO1, you get this nice graunchy sort of sound. And while we're looking at this section, have a look here as well. The MS-20 has got a voltage controlled high pass filter. Very rare these are, they're very rare. Sweet little thing. But what's nice about it is you can use it as its own little sine sound source. Isn't that cute? In fact, if we turn everything up, right, we'll try and take a little step back towards reality now and see what else this machine's got. This wheel, if you didn't want it to be a pitch wheel, it can also act as a modulation wheel. Here we go. Isn't that sweet? In fact, you're using these attenuators. That's a gentle modulation. You can also go mad if you want. Here we go. Each to their own. But to do that, we need to use a VCA. The VCA is a cute little thing, and it's just hiding under here. There it is. I'll be honest, when I first bought this machine, VCA, I didn't see what the point was. But actually, it's just dead neat. It's like a switch or a level control, but for control voltage. And so the modulation, I want to get the modulation into the oscillators. But if I put it just straight in, then they're just going to wobble about all the time. So this is how we control it. I put the modulation into the VCA there. The output from the VCA then goes there. Now at the moment there's no modulation coming through. What we have to do is apply a voltage to the control, and as we raise that voltage it lets more of the modulation through. So as I turn the wheel, so all of a sudden we've got a working mod wheel. But there's something really neat about this machine. Watch what happens when I pull this wire out. A nice straight note, but the modulation comes in automatically. How am I doing it? If you look very carefully here, when there's nothing else connected to the control of the VCA, envelope generator 1 is actually putting a voltage into it. Now if I just move those out of the way like that, we can see envelope generator 1 there. See, they're both very different. This is EG2 and it's got the usual controls: attack, decay, sustain, release. It's also got hold, so you can make notes longer even if you're playing fast. But envelope generator 1, it's got delay, attack and release. In fact, I'm going to turn delay down, turn up the attack. If I push down a note, make it a bit brighter, make it a bit more obvious. Did you hear? The modulation started small and builds up. The reason is, when I play the note, the envelope generator slowly opens and gradually applies the modulation. But what I can do is, I can make that a bit faster and put a delay in it. You get that? So actually, it's delaying before it opens that voltage up. So here we go. So far, I've only been modulating the frequency. In fact, with these controls, you can add as much modulation you like to either the frequency or the high pass filter or the low pass filter. So that's the frequency modulating. Take that down. High pass filter. Low pass filter. And you can mix it as much as you like. I've now connected the mod wheel back into the VCA so we can get your vibrato. It's all very nice, but that sort of basic up and down sinusoidal vibrato, any old machine can do that. This machine can do better. Watch this. Right, now we're going to put the mod wheel up and see what we get. Isn't that great? We're giving it random modulation. What I've created here is a random voltage generator. So the modulation generator is firing the clock on the sample and hold. We've got some noise going to the input, and that means a random voltage comes out of the white wire and goes into the VCA. And so here we go. The random frequency is quite good fun. What's actually really nice is a bit of random filter. Let's just try this. There's one more module on the MS-20 which I haven't talked about. It's the external signal processor, and you can put any sounds you like into this machine and it'll try and take the sound apart, turn it into voltages and work the bits inside. Now at the moment I've got this thing recognising when I play the guitar. It lets the chord sit for a moment, then it adds in a bit of filter modulation. I only know 2 chords, as you noticed. It then adds in a bit of filter modulation. Let's try it. This is the filter closing. I'll make it more obvious. That's where the signal goes in. Okay, little preamp, so it's quite versatile. That's a bandpass filter. This is the really useful bit. Then these 3 are the voltages that the signal generates. That's a frequency to voltage converter. Back in the 70s and 80s, I've got to laugh. The idea was you could get your synthesizer to play along in tune with your guitar. I never ever got that to work. It was so dodgy. But this one is an envelope follower, far more use. So you can get wah-wahs. That's to trigger the envelopes. Forget all that. I'm going to take white noise out of the noise generator. I'm going to put that into there. This is something I did for a theatre production many years ago. I was asked to do an impression of an old London Underground train coming at you through a tunnel. It had to be loud, had to be spooky. Sorry, I'm taking the sound out of there, putting it into the external input up there. And so this is how I did it. Okay, the filters are all set to do what they're going to do, but the real trick is this key here, the high cut frequency. Old London Underground train is stood on a dark, dusty platform, and suddenly in the distance you hear this. Trust me, really loud in the theatre. It's one of the freakiest things I've ever done. Look at these. These are the 2 manuals that actually came with this machine when I bought it all those years ago. Perfect bedtime reading, I'll tell you. This one tells you how it all works. This one has got some suggested patches. So we're going to try a couple of these patches now and see what you think. Here's the first one. Guess the instrument. What do you think? Clarinet. Now, I know modern machines, they use samples and much cleverer ways of emulating instruments, but I think that's a pretty good shot. What's nice about this patch, it's got 1 or 2 rather subtle little refinements. The basic sound is just a square wave coming off VCO1, but if you look here, these 2 wires going through the VCA are giving us that delayed modulation I explained earlier. So if I play a note, after a little pause, you get the modulation. That's nice. What's really clever is the way the second envelope generator is affecting the low pass filter. If I turn the envelope generator off by putting that down there, the notes mellow all the time. Sounds a little bit dull, if you like, a bit lifeless. But by just turning that up, I've slightly over-egged it there. There's a slight rasp before the note settles down. If I just turn it down a little bit, There you are, it's got just a little bit of a harsher tone before it settles. I like that. Whenever you're doing impressions of real instruments and you're playing with the filters, less is more. That's only the slightest touch. But for me, it makes all the difference. Here's another one. I don't think it's quite as good, but it is interesting. Yeah, it's supposed to be a flute. I don't think it's a great impression of a flute. I do think it's a very nice lead instrument, though. Right, I'm going to show you what I like about it. These are the settings for... Now, I'm being distracted here. Here, have a look. Outside this window, where I'm working, move the blind. Can you see there's a helicopter about to land on a fairground down there? So here's me trying to film away, and these people are down there having a whale of a time. And as soon as I'm finished this video, I'm going to go and join them. However, in the meantime, I'm having a whale of a time talking to you. Let's put this back here and try and get something done. Hey, didn't expect that, did you? Righty-ho, what do I like about this patch? Yeah, there's a couple of extra subtle things, rather sweet. If you look at the blue wire here, that's gone back into focus. Kicked all the lights and everything. It's really hard to film this machine with the wires in. If you look at that, that is the keyboard control voltage out. So the voltage coming off the keyboard is coming directly out of there. And it's patched into the voltage control for the low-pass filter. Effectively, this means that the higher notes I play on the keyboard, the brighter the sound is. So I'm playing quite a high note now. So that's quite high, it's nice. But without it, it just sounds a little bit dead, okay? So as you move up the keyboard, you get a brighter tone, that's nice. The other thing I like about this patch is that it's taken some pink noise out of the noise generator. It's gone through the processor here. Then that pink noise is patched into here, this red wire, and that's actually frequency modulation. And this is very subtle. Let me move that down there. This controls how much of the frequency modulation we get. If I turn that right down, that's nothing. If I turn it up a lot, that's with a bit of the noise in it, yeah? And so just take a little bit. Once again, keep it subtle. Just gives it a little bit more tone rather than the flat oscillator. I like that a lot. Okay, I'm just going to have a quick flick through the book, see what other sounds that we can find for you. Some of these are going to be a bit dated. I mean, well, look at this one. Here we are. Can you see that? Synthesizer 2. I mean, I bet back in the 1970s, that was a real groundbreaking sound. People would be on their knees going, oh, that is majesty. But I think we'll probably just leave that. Oh, now, hang on. Look at this. Ha-ha, now we're talking. Dive bombing. That'll be the sort of sound you get off those old arcade games. I bet that's great. Look, that's the patch. Can you see it? It shows where the wires have got to go. Oh, come on. Who doesn't want to hear that? Right, we'll see if we can get that one working for you. There, with the magics of editing, I've already put all the wires in. I've got the controls set just as this thing said. But this one's got instructions. It says, dive bombing. After playing the furthest key to the right, nothing comes out. Depress the momentary switch. That's the little button here that we tried before that didn't seem to be working, but we've got it patched in now. Depress the momentary switch. Release the switch as soon as the bomb explodes. Okay, here we go. Come on, go again. That's outrageous. I'm loving it. We better have a look at this and see what we can see what's going on, because right now I'm not absolutely sure. We'll start looking at this little murky corner here. Can you see there's a blue wire just connecting these two things together? And these two things, that one is the output from the little push button switch. So when you push the button, it sends a 0 volt pulse down your wire. So that goes in there, quiet you. And then it goes into here, trig in. That fires the envelope shapers. So as soon as I do that, I've disconnected the keyboard from the envelope shapers. So nothing's going to play. They're actually waiting for me to push this little button. There we go, to trigger the envelope shapers. Right, got that bit. Green wire. Green wire is coming out of, let's have a little look. Reverse out. Okay, envelope shaper 2. Yeah, normally the voltage from an envelope shaper goes higher than low. This is the reverse voltage. So when I put that in, the voltage goes low and then it goes high. And the green wire goes along here. I know what that's going to be. That is going to be the frequency control for the envelope shapers. Yeah, then if you can make that out. Okay, so as the envelope fires, the voltage goes down and the things go, and it goes, okay, so it goes down, then it goes up. That's what's happening there. It's this yellow wire going to the external signal input, which is making me have a little... Oh, look what they've done. Oh, so simple, it's brilliant. Right, I've got it, look. Here we go. That's your noise generator. It's taken the pink noise output. It's gone through the external signal processor. It's filtered a little bit, okay? And so a slightly filtered bit of noise is coming down the red wire and going into our old friend, that little VCA that I love so much, okay? And so the output from the VCA is the noise. What happens is, let's have a look at the controls for the envelope generator one. Let's have a little look. That will be there. Absolutely right. There's no attack, but there is a delay time on it. So as soon as you fire the envelope shaper, after that delay has passed, VCA opens, it lets the noise come through. The noise comes out of the yellow wire, but we don't use the noise as a control voltage. We're using the noise as a sound source. It's going to the external signal in, and that's how we hear the noise, that blast of noise, and it comes after a delay. Oh, that's genius. Right, let's just push the button and see what happens again. Remind ourselves. Oh, you're going to hold it down. One more for luck. I think that's fabulous. Hey, look at that thing on the fairground. Sorry, I can't help showing you this. Look, it's going right over those trees, and those trees are high. Oh God, there's people in there. Oh no. Do you want to go and have a closer look at that? Yeah, so do I. Sorry to interrupt the video, we're going to go for a closer look. Well, you know, fresh air and sunshine. I do get a bit occasionally, you know. I don't spend my entire life in little dark rooms with wires. But for now, that's all I'm going to tell you about the Korg MS-20. It's just an introductory video to give you a feel for the machine. If you get your hands on one, do look on YouTube and find some of the other videos about this thing. There are so many good ideas, clever things, way beyond my imagination that you can do with this box. But I'll tell you the truth. Personally, I hardly ever use the keyboard. I think this is the single best box you can get, you know, analog, to make sound effects and have fun with. But if I'm going to play a tune, I would actually more normally go to this thing here, the little Prodigy. It's got less control, so it's easy to set up, a lot easier to control for live gigs. Also, it's beautifully built, bits of wood and nice controls. Plus, the Moog Prodigy has got one thing that the MS-20 hasn't got. You can do this. But it's also got a sync switch. It'll do this. Isn't that beautiful? But wouldn't it be great if somehow you could combine the power of those oscillators and the sync control with the filters and the control voltage intelligence of this machine? Well, in fact, you can do it, and I've actually taken the Prodigy not straight to the amp, but to the external signal input here. So if I just tweak that down a little bit, let's just try them both together. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.